Hi, my name is Michelle Sinkovitz-Ferguson from Greenberg and Sinkovitz, and thank you for joining us today. We have a lot to cover.
Wait, hold on a sec. Hold on. Okay, we're on.
Hi, sorry, we've been having a little bit of technical difficulties. Turns out it's a little more challenging to stream two people than it is one person. I'm Michelle Sinkovitz-Ferguson from Greenberg and Sinkovitz, and thank you for joining us for our wine and divorce event in the age of COVID-19. I'm currently drinking a little bit of rosé because I'm really wanting some more summer weather. Um, and I thought we would just start off by talking about something interesting that happened today or recently. Um, so, as I'm sure many of you are dealing with, working from home is interesting, especially if you have children. Me and my husband are both working from home. So today, like many other days, we have to toggle between work and taking care of our 5-month-old, which is actually a blessing because our 5-month-old at least is relatively easy. Although he is still awake, despite the fact that he normally goes to sleep about an hour ago. But we're letting my husband take care of that. Um, so today, I was toggling between a Zoom call with Stephanie and making sure the baby was getting down for a nap. And as I was walking away from the baby who I thought was napping, all of a sudden I heard some crying and I was like, ugh. And I went back and realized that it was actually Stephanie's kids that were crying. So that was a great relief for me. So before I go into what I'm going to be speaking about, I'll let Stephanie introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie Greenberg. I'm the other partner at Greenberg and Sinkovitz, and I am drinking a Cabernet Sauvignon tonight. Something interesting in my day, I gave my daughter a little sensory rice bin and buried some of her little toys in it, hoping that would keep her occupied while I was working today. So I was on a call, and when I got off, I found rice all over my house. So in my living room, pouring out of the couch cushions, in my daughter's bed, in her shoes and her hair. So I spent my afternoon cleaning that up, which was very fun, but she did stay occupied. So depending on whether you need to keep your kids busy and don't mind a bit of a cleanup, I guess I recommend it. um, but we're excited to have you guys here tonight to learn more about how COVID-19, this pandemic, is impacting your case and impacting the court systems. So Michelle will get us started, and I'll let her talk a little bit, and then I will follow up on that.
So just so you know, we've recently started an Instagram at Green Sync Law. We have we're going to be having lots of content keeping you up to date on everything that's going on. So feel free to follow us on there. Also, if you have any questions throughout the program or want to send us questions afterwards, can we see questions, Stephanie?
I can see questions. Yes.
Okay, so we can see questions. Also, if you have any comments or suggestions after we're done, we would love to hear them. This is obviously the first time that we're doing this, and we'd like to continue it, especially as we're moving towards long-term remote type work, at least for the next couple months. So I'm first going to talk about Governor Pritzker's stay-at-home order and what it means for divorce and parenting cases. So recently, the stay-at-home order was extended to April 30th, 2020. We believe it'll be extended further. I don't know if anybody has been kind of listening to what Mayor Lori Lightfoot has been saying, but she said that it would likely extend past that. Additionally, Governor Pritzker said today that he's working in conjunction with other states to reopen or restart the economy. And one of those states is Wisconsin, and they just recently extended their stay-at-home order until the end of May. So we think it's likely that it'll at least be through the end of May. So one of the important things about the stay-at-home order is as it relates to essential travel. Before the real specifics came out, we got a lot of questions from our clients about whether seeing their kids or the other parent seeing their kids was considered essential travel. And it was our inkling and a lot of other divorce attorneys in the profession that it was essential. Luckily for us, Governor Pritzker actually put in the order that essential travel includes transporting children pursuant to court order or custody allocation or judgment. So that saved us a lot of headaches in terms of dealing with whether or not that was going to be considered essential travel. Interestingly enough, South Africa, I don't know if it's called a stay-at-home order or something similar, they precluded that as essential travel. So basically, whoever had the kids at that time kept the kids, which obviously creates a lot of problems, not only for the parent now having 100% of the parenting time, but also, of course, for the parent who's not getting any parenting time. So what does this mean for you? It means if you have a current order or judgment, follow it. Follow the regular parenting time and don't deviate from that unless you and your ex-partner or spouse can reach agreements separate from that. You guys can always reach agreements. Exceptions may be, and certainly reach out to us if you have questions about this, that if you've been exposed to COVID-19 or believe you have, if you believe your child has been exposed to COVID-19 or will be in the care of the other parent. Additionally, if you or your child has a compromised immune system, placing you or your child at higher risk for complications due to COVID-19, it's not an automatic withhold parenting time situation, but just reach out to us so we can talk about it. Also, the order that the governor issued on April 14th, this one explicitly stated that child support and maintenance obligations, so maintenance of spousal support, are to continue being paid per court order. If your income has decreased or you're not receiving income, you're all of a sudden unemployed or furloughed, you do have options to get relief through the court. But it's really important that you file a motion and that you file a motion that pleads exactly what you need it to plead, because as we will discuss, the courts are hearing these issues, and a lot of times it sounds like they're doing it just based on the pleadings. If you don't file a motion, you just stop paying, a judgment is going to continue to accrue. You can't come back in like 6 months and say, I was unemployed. The court is going to say, why didn't you file a motion? So it's very important that you get in to at least temporarily reduce or eliminate those support payments. Now I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to talk about Cook County a little bit. I can't hear you.
I realized I was muted, so you couldn't hear my kids in the background. I'm going to go over some of the procedures of various courthouses, but I'm going to start with Cook County specifically. So Cook County right now is closed until May 18th. They were originally closed until April 18th, but recently expanded their closure until May 18th. So we're kind of keeping our eye on that to see if they extend their closure longer. I think it's likely with the way everything is going. And the fact that Lori Lightfoot has already indicated that our stay-at-home order is going to go beyond April 30th. However, Cook County has really expanded on the things that you could do remotely at this time without having to go into the courthouse at all. So at this time, you can continue filing into the clerk of the court. So just as you would when the courts were open, pretty much everything is e-filed now. So whether you want to start a new case or file into an existing case that you may have, you can still do that, and you should still be doing that. Any discovery deadlines that may have existed or response deadlines to pleadings that may have existed should still also be followed as if the court was still open. The other thing that Cook County is doing is entering orders remotely, specifically agreed orders. So this can range from agreements on temporary parenting time, child support or maintenance, which is spousal support, allocating assets to one of the parties, debts and expenses, or really any other issue that the parties can agree on. A judge will enter those orders remotely. The court's also dealing with contested motions remotely. So it's kind of in the judge's discretion how they want to deal with these. But motions at this time can be submitted and filed with the court. And then the opposing party or attorney automatically gets time to respond to that motion. And then everything is sent to the coordinator for the judge. And you'll either be notified that that judge is going to rule just on the pleading, as Michelle discussed earlier, which is why it's so important to make sure that any pleading filed is really done the proper way. And then a judge can also say that they want to conduct a hearing remotely, or as a last resort, maybe if the hearing is going to be really complex and a judge thinks that they need to hear lengthy testimony or testimony from various individuals, they may inform you that the hearing does need to be postponed until the court reopens. Cook County is also remotely dealing with finalization of cases. So we call it proof up in a divorce case, and that just means the day that your divorce is finalized. So these can be done remotely now. Testimony is taken from the petitioner, meaning the person that filed the divorce case, and that could be done via telephone or video, but the specific judge handling your case would inform you which method they want to do that. And then emergencies. Emergencies can be filed at this time and then sent to the coordinator. And if the judge deems it to be an actual emergency, this can also be argued remotely through telephone or video. The court really will only entertain true emergencies at this time. So people need to be really, really careful of what they're filing as an emergency. The courts are imposing sanctions on both parties and attorneys if they find that somebody is abusing the ability to file an emergency at this time. And then the last thing is our orders of protection. So just very recently this week, we received a notification that emergency orders of protection are being done remotely. That was actually one of the last things to be able to do remotely. Previously, people still actually had to go into the courthouse to have their emergency order of protection heard. Now the judges are handling those remotely, and the court specifically stated that they wanted to do that so that especially these judges that still had to go into the courthouse don't need to do that anymore. A couple of other things just to mention about Cook County. A lot of parties are ordered to mediation, especially when there are parenting issues in their case. So most people are ordered to the free Cook County-based mediation program. That's still taking place. However, those are being done remotely. Typically, parties would meet in person with the mediator at the mediator's office. Now it's all being done via phone or video, whichever the mediator prefers. And then there's parenting education. So in divorce and parenting cases, usually you see the parties completing what's called Focus on the Children program. There's also Children in Between is another one. Those can all be done virtually online now. So there is an in-person parenting class. Now the courts are allowing everyone to complete that remotely through the video that's available. And then sometimes parties are ordered to emergency intervention. This frequently occurs if an emergency is filed. The judge doesn't necessarily want to make a ruling at that moment, may think that some further intervention or viewpoint is necessary. So the parties meet with an intervener and have this what's called emergency intervention. That's actually suspended right now while the courts are closed. So instead, it looks like the judges are dealing with emergencies, kind of how I previously stated before, where they have to deem whether it's a true emergency or not in order to move forward. So that's how Cook County is operating right now. We're definitely going to keep everybody updated as we are updated and see if the courts stay closed longer or what other procedures are put into place to keep things rolling while the courts are closed. I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle to talk about a couple of the other county courthouses.
So Cook County has done a really wonderful job of, we're seeing orders every day. They're really open to feedback from attorneys. So Cook County has done an exceptional job of keeping us up to date and trying to keep the court system as up to date as possible. So I expect it will continue to change for the better. Something just as a side note, we think a lot of these procedures, these remote procedures will continue once court is back to business as usual, which is really great, both for attorneys and litigants, because it means a lot more things can be done more efficiently. Looking to some of the other counties, DuPage, Lake, and Will, all the courthouses are closed until May 18th. You can view new court dates on the clerk of the court's website for each of the respective counties. The clerks of each county will also send you notifications of future court dates, but it's always best to check your cases online, whether it's these 3 counties or Cook County, just to make sure you're staying on top of it. In DuPage, the filing can be done remotely. You can do agreed orders. You can finalize your divorce. So kind of what Stephanie was saying with prove ups in Cook County. This can all be done remotely. It sounds like in DuPage, what they're doing is they're letting you do it all through paperwork and not requiring testimony from the petitioner, whereas Cook County is still requiring that. We think that may change, but for now, DuPage is not requiring that. Pre-trials can also be done. Both parties must be represented. So if you're representing yourself, this is not something you're going to be able to accomplish at this time. And I believe it's that both sides need to agree that the pre-trial go forward. Contested hearings, court may rule without any appearance, but will rule on the pleadings only. This is why it's so important that your pleadings have everything that's required, have all the facts that you need in there, to make sure that if the courts are only going to be looking at the pleadings themselves and not any testimony and not any further argument from your attorneys, that everything you want is in there. So it's really important that you have an attorney to help you with those. As far as that goes, there are some exhibits that they'll take via email, and the court may rule in writing via email. So like I said, there might not ever be any testimony or argument. Emergency motions and orders of protection DuPage are proceeding in person by the on-call judge. So they have not yet moved to remote procedures for emergencies like Cook County has. I would expect that to change as well. Now I will turn it over to Stephanie to talk a little bit more about Lake and Will.
Sure. So Lake and Will, it'll be a quick summary. They're essentially doing the same thing. Again, they're both closed until May 18th as well. So what they are doing remotely are conducting emergencies. So this is really in the discretion of each judge. The judge can conduct them remotely, or they will conduct them in person. And then non-evidentiary hearings and other procedures. Non-evidentiary just means that no testimony is required from either party. So you typically see this when you have a child support hearing, and it's really just a matter of math. There's not really any testimony that's needed. And then any other proceedings, so that could be contested issues or anything else. Judges may conduct these remotely at their discretion, or they could just continue your case until the court reopens. So it's important to know who your judge is, and to contact, their specific coordinator to see what that judge's procedures actually are, depending on where you're at with your case. And then I'm going to let Michelle talk a little bit just about what our firm specifically is doing for you during this pandemic to help you with your case and help things move along.
So we're available just as much as we were before. We are, working all of our regular business hours. We use Zoom. We were already cloud-based. Obviously, if you're a client of ours, there's lots of emails. So because we were so advanced technologically already, the transition to completely virtual and remote was actually pretty seamless for us. So all those things are available both for our current clients and potential clients. Also, we are offering virtual mediation services that can be accomplished through Zoom. If you're having issues as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic and parenting or financial, whether you're in the middle of your divorce or you're pre-divorce or you're even post-divorce, we're offering up to 3 hours plus a memorandum of understanding for a $600 flat fee. If we've represented you as an attorney, we can't be your mediator, but if we have not represented you as an attorney or given you advice as an attorney, that is something we're offering to help kind of ease the burden of it not being as easy to go into court and get those resolutions. And maybe if you want to avoid court altogether. Additionally, Stephanie is a guardian ad litem and child representative. She's still offering those services via teleconference and Zoom video. And I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie to kind of close out our session for today.
Yeah, so there's just a few things that I wanted to point out, just a few points of interest, recent things that we've seen in the news or personally that's going on in Illinois and elsewhere that we just find interesting. Number one, Michelle mentioned at the beginning how Governor Pritzker announced today that he made a pact with a few other states. This includes Wisconsin, and Wisconsin just extended their stay-at-home order to May 27th. So it will be interesting to see if we then in turn extend our stay-at-home order until at least that time. It's kind of, he didn't really make clear if that was the case or not. I would anticipate that if he does extend the stay-at-home order until that time frame, the courts will not open until at least June. So it would be interesting to see what additional procedures, if any, the court puts into place to deal with that additional time that the court will be closed. We're also reading about various other issues arising during this time, specifically when it comes to divorce, obviously, and parenting. So China, their divorce rate is rapidly rising after their quarantine was lifted as a result of quarantine. So it will be also something interesting to follow here in Illinois and Cook County to see whether, our divorce rate rises as well as a result of these stay-at-home orders. And then something else important to point out, there are a lot of healthcare workers right now that are facing custody and parenting time issues. And this is really solely a result of the nature of their job. It's unfortunate, and everybody probably has their own opinions on it. But we see a lot of parents who are nurses and doctors, obviously doing their part to help with this crisis, but also unfortunately having to put themselves at risk. And the other spouse who, is probably not in that field will go to court and seek to have the children stay with them while that doctor or nurse or other healthcare professional continues to work in the field. So it's interesting. Not all of the judges are ruling the same way. Some are saying that the child should stay with the parent that, is not working in healthcare. Some courts are allowing that healthcare worker to have their parenting time with the child. So it's really a case-by-case basis, but it's interesting to see how that continues to develop. We intend for this to be a series of videos as we gather more information and talk about different topics. So next week we'll be live streaming about the issues I kind of was just discussing, which are parenting time and co-parenting issues that people are currently facing, and then ways to potentially resolve or avoid these issues without the necessity of going into court at this time. So, I do want to say that we fully support and appreciate all of the healthcare workers who are the true heroes of this pandemic. They're putting themselves and their health on the line to help all of us. So I just really want to point that out and show our respect for all of those individuals. And if you want more information, either about the governor's stay-at-home order and how that impacts your situation, or the various court operations throughout the state, or just general issues about a divorce or parenting time, please feel free to reach out to us. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, or you can always call us at the office at 312-905-3013. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining us, and we're happy to answer any questions that anyone has. You can just insert them on Facebook now and we'll see them. If not, I'll let Michelle say a final last word, and we appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. As Stephanie said, as I also previously said, we're open to any suggestions if there's anything you want to hear about or any sorts of concerns that you're having. And if we have no questions or people that want to ask questions right now, always feel free to reach out to us. And we'll just enjoy our wine and the rest of our evening, and we hope you do too. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.